Well, hi folks, and welcome to the next card in the tarot series, which is number 7, the Chariot. And here we have it. I noticed that the BOA card here is pretty much the same as the Rider Waite. There's very, very, very few differences. So whichever card you're using should be perfect for you. So where are we? Okay, right. We're at the end here of our top row on the tarot tableau. So we started off with the Fool, and we've gone right away along the top row now. We're at the Chariot. So the Chariot, basically, it's a synthesis of all the cards leading up to this point. But it also has a very serious point to it as well, because that's the point that we've got up to as you add all these cards together. So, what we're saying here is, at the end of the tarot, top row of the tarot, we're looking at the serious and fundamental questions. Who are we, and what are we? Which leads us up to saying, what is willpower, and where does it come from? Okay. So, how have we got this? How have we got to here? As I said, the Chariot is a synthesis of the previous cards along the top row. And of course the Fool. And we've kind of gone in a full circle as well. But all will become clear. So the Fool, now we said this was the one power, didn't we? The one force. Okay. Which we called superconsciousness. And then with the Magician, we looked at acts of intention. We brought our intention into play. With the High Priestess, we said, okay, now we're going to activate the subconscious in relation to the our acts of intention. Then we looked at the Empress, which was resulted in creative imagination feeding back out of the High Priestess or subconsciousness. We fed these onto the Emperor, and by doing this, we filtered these new ideas and new images through our order and through reason. And then that led on to our initiation, our intuition. We initiated our intuition and discernment with the Hierophant. And then the last card was the Lovers. And in the Lovers, we said we're going to unite what we've looked at so far, the subconsciousness, superconscious and self-consciousness. We called it our personal trinity, and we said we have to unite all these together because really they're the same thing. And that uniting of yourself in that way is love. So now we're moving on to the Chariot. Now the Chariot leads us to an understanding of the true nature of willpower. It's a difficult concept to get over, but I'm going to feed it through this presentation, and hopefully I'll be able to explain what I mean by this. Because willpower is not our personality. It's not from our personality. It's from the universal one power. And that takes us right back, as I said, to the top, to the Fool again. So we've gone all the way through. We've gone along the top row, back to the Fool. So what we're saying here is that in the Chariot card, the actual Chariot itself is our personality. We talk about a personality. The Chariot represents the personality. You and me and all, we are the charioteer, not the Chariot. The personality is the Chariot. We are the charioteer. All will become clear. At least I hope it will. So what I'll do as usual, I'll take you through the symbolization of the card, and then we'll look at what that means to us and how we can put it into some sort of practical sense. So in many ways, the Chariot is an opposite to the Lovers. As we've said, as we went through the card, every card is an opposite to the one previous to it. Now, the Hebrew letter for this tarot card is, it's spelt Cheth, but it's pronounced Kate, Kayet. So now Kayet stands for fence. The Lovers was sword. So a fence encloses something, makes it a whole, where a sword breaks it into two. You'll also remember from the Lovers, I mean, the two main characters were said separately. Well, on the Chariot, we have a central person. So again, and there are many ways as you go through the card that you see these opposites to the Lovers. Maybe you can pick some up yourself as we go through, because you're getting, as we've gone through the series, you'll be getting more and more used to the ideas and recognizing bits of the symbology yourself. So I've said that the Chariot is your personality, and in a way, it's your vehicle is your personality, and the vehicle itself is like a movable fence, isn't it? It's an enclosed area, a movable fence. It's also a cube. So as we've said, as we've gone through the series, we've mentioned the cube a few times. We mentioned the cube of space, which I'll hopefully do a presentation of on its own. But the cube, remember that the High Priestess sat on a cube, and so did the Emperor. And that cube represents the physical plane. It's measured. It's the human physical plane. And this case, it's grey. So it's also the mixture of the opposites, white and black mixed together equals grey. Central pillar equals wisdom. Gandalf the Grey. There we go again. So the personality is the instrument of the one force. Okay, bear that in mind. Now, another aspect of the Chariot is that it's related to the human process of speech. And that's an important bit that we'll come to at the end. But for now, just bear in mind that speech, whether it's silent speech as in thought, or physical speech, it's a fence around an idea. When you speak, you're putting a fence around an idea, you're presenting an idea, thought. So what is speech? Well, speech comes mainly from the subconscious, and then because the subconscious puts an idea in your mind, you then create vibrations, and those vibrations will go through the air into another person's, picks up the vibrations and translates those vibrations into words which become ideas. So it's a process from subconscious. Subconscious goes into thought. Thought gets through this gravelly noise that we make over to not all of us, of course, to somebody else's ears, and they translate it back into a thought. So that's basically speech, so speech is another fence. The zodiacal sign is Cancer, the crab, sitting in the corner, giving it that, as the old joke goes. And the number is 7. Now, 7's an important number in the ancient wisdoms, and it means victory. Okay. The Pythagorean philosophers spoke of the number 7 as the vehicular, and this was the vehicle of man. So, hence the chariot. In the Hindu Bhagavad Gita, they spoke of the self. They said the self is the rider of the chariot of the body, guided by the intellect of the charioteer, drawn by the senses of the powerful horses, controlled by the way of the mind, serving as the reins. So you can see that the charioteer is something from many ancient traditions. So moving down to the actual picture here, you've got the walled city in the background. So a wall, of course, is a type of fence, isn't it? A wall, a fence, same sort of thing. And in the background, we've got the houses. So that's two types of house. So then we're looking at, so this is relating to Beth, or house, which was the magician. So it's saying that it's combining both aspects in the card with the magician. In front of the wall, you have a row of trees. So this is like another windbreak. It's another fence. So this fence is a fence of trees. And that leads us to, of course, to the Empress, because these are the same trees that we saw on the Empress card. So we're talking about the mental images of the Empress. In front of the trees, we've got the river. Now, a river, again, of course, is a moat. So, again, that's another type of fence, because the moat surrounds the city, another protective fence. But, of course, we know, don't we, because we've said through that tarot, whenever you see a river, it relates to the High Priestess, because the river starts in the High Priestess's dress. So she's involved as well. But this river now, we're saying, doesn't only go through the pitch, it goes through yourself. It leads to feed your willpower. So that should take it a little step further there. The starry canopy above the charioteer and the chariot, that's the celestial and metaphysical forces which affect the physical plane. So we're saying here, we're looking at the Hermetic principle of as above, so below. There are 4 pillars holding up the chariots, and again, so 4 is order. And again, it's divided into 2. You see the poles are divided into 2. So then you're talking about the same idea of as above, so below again. And they've got the central ring. The ring is the thing that divides the 2. And this is a 0, again, or a 0, which is the Fool. So we're including all the tarot cards into one picture here, in a way. The crown on the top has 3 pentagrams. So this leads us to the pentagram being the 4 elements on the bottom, and the Hebrew shin on the top of spirit. So we're saying, whilst we're on the physical plane, we're putting spirit as our leader. The hair of the charioteer is the same as the Fool. It's yellow for the same reason we said for the Fool, and it's got a green wreath around it, which intimates the level of nature, the level of life force, which is a nature plane. The shield, right, there's a red symbol on the shield, okay. Now this again is back to the Hindu teachings, and it's the lingam yoni, and this represents the union of the positive and the negative. So this is the first aspect we have on this card, which is bringing together the opposites. The winged globe, again on the front of the chariot, there we go, is yellow for the same reasons as the Fool, but it also represents the magician. And then you've got the blue wings, which are the High Priestess. So we're talking about, we've got the whole 3 elements again of the lovers. We've got the self, consciousness, subconsciousness, and superconsciousness, all in one go. So we've got all the cards in there now. Now the sphinxes at the front, these are interesting because sphinxes are they're animal and they're man. So we've got animal, man, and we've just said with the wreath we have the life force. So we're going through all the different levels of evolution here, all the different aspects, the levels of the life force. Now we've also he's holding a scepter to this side. Now the scepter has a figure 8 around it, and it's also got a crescent moon, and the figure 8 is infinity and subconscious, and it's the same as it was over top of the magician, and it's also got the moon, which is the High Priestess. So lunar influences from all these different aspects in this one card. The sphinxes, now as we said, they're a mixture of animal and human, and we've got black ones and we've got white ones. We've got a black one, one white one. Now this represents the pillars of Solomon's temple, and of course the pillars of the High Priestess. the Yakim and Boys. Now, the one on the black one here, that represents the pillar of severity on the in Solomon's Temple and on the Kabbalistic Tree, where the white one is a pillar of mercy, okay, on the other side. So that's why in the middle we have the grey, which is the tomb of the Chariot. So we've drawn in the opposites. Now just have a look at the shoulders of the charioteer, and you'll see here that you've got moon crests, but they've got little faces on them. And the face of the one in black represents again the pillar of severity. And you'll see he's got a bit of a grimace on his face, where the one that on the other side represents the pillar of mercy, and he's got quite a happy sort of happy, free-looking expression on it. Take a good look, and you won't notice them to start with, but now you've been drawn attention to it, stands out quite a lot. Now, just looking at the armour that the charioteer wears, you can say again that the armour is again a type of fence, because it's a fence for the body. It protects the body. It's of brass. So we know that brass now, it's Venus, so it's the Empress, so it's creative imagination. And on my card, I've got some little T's on a talisman over his neck. Now, I know there's a T somewhere on the Rider Waite pack, but I can't quite see where it is. But it does exist. Now, the T stands for Tav, the Hebrew letter Tav, which is Saturn, which is the idea of cosmic limitation or bringing together. His belt, this has got lots of different signs of the zodiac on it. You can see the Cancer sign clearly because this card this card's sign is Cancer. Now you'll see his belt is actually at a slight incline down. Now this is to represent the circle of the ecliptic, and so it represents time on the physical plane. The skirts he wears beneath his armour again has lots of magical talismans and things in it again. But the most important thing about this is that the chariot itself is your personality. The charioteer is your real person. So that takes us through the symbolism. So now I'm going to attempt to bring this all together and make it practical so that you can take something away. So what was the charioteer all about? Well, it's about the whole of the tarot actually is about self-realization, okay? But we've asked our questions at the beginning. We said, what is the self? What is the will? Okay. Now, we've gone through the synthesis of cards. We know that these answer some fundamental questions. Okay. But now we're trying to figure out what the will is. Jesus said, of myself I can do nothing. What he meant by that is free will exists, but not through him. He also says, I have no will save to do the will that him who sent me. So the will who sent me is what we've called superconsciousness. Obviously, in the biblical traditions, it's a type of Father God. So if you're trying to find your will, I've said before, the good thing to do is to ask the question, how will I serve? And that kind of puts you in the right direction anyway. But in the mystery tradition, the same question is, above all else, rid yourself of the delusion of self-will and learn to be receptive to the guidance of the universal willpower. The guidance of the universal willpower. Rid yourself of the delusion of self-will. That doesn't mean you haven't got your own destiny, your own willpower. You do. But this is a very difficult question, a very difficult concept to grasp. And I hope I can put it over to you so that you will grasp it. So this is the motivating power of the entire universe. This is the will. This is what we represented as the Fool. And remember, we've said all the power that ever was or will be is here now. We've said that, we understand that, and now we're saying that the river through the card flows through. This power flows through you. Through you. It's and this is where the willpower, this is where the will and the power for the will comes from. So grasp the idea that we are not our personalities, okay? If we were our personalities, how could we say ours? It's like my little espresso here, my espresso. But I'm not the espresso, it's my espresso. I'm separate from it, it belongs to me. So my personality, I'm separate from it, it belongs to me. So the personality is the vehicle for the cosmic forces that flow through you like a river. So realize this. I'm going to put it this way. There's no separate power of personal volition. There's just the will of the one power that exists. The will of superconscious, the will of God. Personality is an instrument, not the workman. And personality has no power of its own. Okay. To try and grasp the idea, be still, quieten your mind, and see your personality being maintained by a flow of power flowing through you, in one side, outside you, totally effortless. Don't put any effort into it. Just watch it, watch it, watch it. You send out blessings around to the world as the power filters through you and just effortlessly continues out. So if you're in line, which we've said time and time again through the tarot, if you're in the line on the central pillar and you're following your correct will, remember what we said about Aleister Crowley, then things should be effortlessly rewarding and beneficial on every way. So that explains, I hope that explains the idea of willpower. It is a difficult concept, but I hope I've got it through. Because I find it difficult to explain it, I have to be honest. So the last little bit I'll talk about is speech, okay? Because I said I would come back to it. So speech, the idea here is that you're feeding things into your willpower, into your subconscious again, into the power that flows through you. So you need to be sure that you choose very carefully the words that you use, that you implement. And then that's not just in speech, because we've said that's in thought as well. So if thought comes into your mind, be careful, use the Emperor, be careful with that thought, with those words that you're going to represent it with. Use good, use accurate, use courageous words, select them with care. It's very important. So the whole idea is to hone your real willpower and feed it with strong and positive words to build a strong and positive character and emotional self. So we've done well, haven't we? We've got to the end of our first line of tarot on the tarot tableau, and we're ready to move on to the next. So please do press subscribe. I'm trying to build this channel up now because obviously the way things are going, my tours can't run anymore. So that kind of means I'm doing this full time. So any donations will be greatly received. Just in the description below, just click on my PayPal account. And there's also books and things you can buy as well, which I'll get a very small, minute amount of. So I hope you enjoyed the Chariot. I will see you in the next video.